I just want you to know that. It's Matthew Hunsucker is our StoryTime tonight. Listen, he's like our hidden gem. I claim you as mine. That's mine, that was mine. Right there. That was mine. We get credit for that. It's all God, but we get credit. So he's an alumni of Ark Recovery Services. Kind of came here and had a path and a determination about what he wanted and what he wanted to do with his life, and he wanted to turn it around. And that's exactly what he did, I believe, through the help of God and through the support of us. Now, I so appreciate you. Just a nice guy. Matthew Hunsucker, you're just a nice guy. Which is a nice thing to say, considering the path that we used to walk and where we came from. So he's beautiful, has a lovely family, and I love them. Miss them, like to see more of them. But he's wonderful. So he's going to come up and he's probably going to talk to you for about 20-25 minutes, share about his story and what God has done in his life. So we're going to give you Matthew.
All right.
Hi, I'm Matthew.
Hi, Matthew.
I'm a child of God, and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. The second most important thing you should know about me is I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. I'm terrified of public speaking, and so thanks. I don't know. But before I get ahead of myself, I just want to say it's so awesome being back here. I was here at the Art House May of 23, so going on 2 years ago. I got sober in January of 23, so I got 2 years sober now too. And I mentioned that because really all I have is today. All I need is today. But I just looking back at the path that took me on, I know some people are kind of, so when I first came in here, I was uncomfortable with whether or not am I an alcoholic? Am I an addict? Am I this? Am I that? And the biggest blessing for me is coming to terms and being able to say, I am an alcoholic. I love who I am today, and if I wasn't able to admit that I was an alcoholic in the beginning, I never would have gone on this amazing journey and found God. So, thank you guys for having me tonight. I missed you guys so much. I go to a church that's a little closer to mine. I live in Canton, so I go to a church kind of close to me, but it's not this church. It's not that. But I guess I should talk about what it was like, what happened, where I'm at now. I never didn't believe in God. It was just really complicated for me. So when I was a kid, the first church I ever went to was a Mormon church. I was actually raised for a few years in that church. And not a lot of people know that about me. I don't really talk about that a lot, because it's a whole can of worms. But, so I was going to that church when I was a kid, and they had very different ideas on a lot of things. The main impression I got from going to church when I was a kid, from probably as early as I can remember, I guess 4 or 5, maybe, until I was about 10, 11. Every Sunday, going to that church and going into that, being molded into their ideas of God and their ideas. There's very stringent rules. They were very tense about a lot of things. They believed that they were the only group going to heaven. It was wild. They had their own book. There was a lot of just the way you were supposed to hold yourself in church and around people in the community. You were supposed to present this image for the church. It wasn't, I don't know, I didn't understand it much as a kid. I still don't claim to understand a whole lot of it, but that experience was, I kind of grew to not like church from an early age, because I was like, this is just too much. There was a lot of stuff where I would talk to friends at school and tell them what church I went to, and they'd be like, oh, you go to that church where they marry like 6 wives and stuff like that. And I was like, I didn't know about that. They didn't tell us about that. And so I was like, I just, ugh. So I resented, I got a resentment towards that church. I got a resentment towards, and my problem was I was a kid and I didn't understand, so I got a resentment not just towards that church, but to kind of all churches in general at that point, because I was like, this, I kind of felt betrayed. I learned a lot of stuff about that church that I didn't like, and I was like, well, okay, so what about these other churches and stuff? It was kind of reality shattering for me, because I thought that was it. Okay, this is this church that I'm in, and this is the truth, and this is what we're doing. I may not like it, but I didn't expect to be kind of lied to, kind of floored by it. And so for some reason that carried over with other churches, other chances to find God in my teenage years. That kind of vanished, because I had that prejudice right away. Like, I just don't want to be involved in any of this. I don't know what to believe. I think there was a lot of crazy stuff going on at the church I was in, so I just made that choice at a young age. And I never really abandoned the idea of God, though. I always kind of had there was always those desperate moments in life where I was searching for Him to kind of comfort me through it. You know, I didn't have, I had parents that did their best, but it wasn't a very comforting household. It wasn't very loving. It wasn't, I felt like an outsider in my own family a lot. So I feel like I was searching for a long time, and I would pray every once in a while when things got really tough. I didn't really know, and most of my prayers just started with, I don't know who I'm praying to, but this is too much for me. Like, please help me. It wasn't until years later that I can look back and see all these times where He was there the whole time. I'll get there. It's mind-blowing, yeah. So I don't know what that all might have had to do with it, but as I got older, I became more interested in drinking and using illegal substances, because they kind of became my higher power at that point. Anytime I was stressed out, anytime I was just having too much of a hard time with life, that's what I was going to. And I didn't think it was a problem. I was in my 20s, everyone around me was, we were drinking, going out, doing that kind of stuff, so I didn't see anything wrong with it. And I don't know where I crossed the line, but at some point I crossed a line where I became dependent on these substances to function, to get through anything. My higher power became opiates and fentanyl. And life went downhill real quick. And the thing I love about this church and this program is that I can openly talk about that. A lot of people in this room with me have been through the same thing. And that's what drew me here right away, is there was no judgment. There was there was so much love the second I walked through these doors. And people that understood what I was going through and had gone through the same thing. When my prior version of church was what it was, and then I came in here, I was like, wow, yeah, these are my people. I can get on board with this. We're just people trying to do better, you know. And get. So anyway, I just. It took me a while to get here, though. I'm an alcoholic, and that means, at least for me, in my experience, I'm really stubborn. I don't want to listen to people when they tell me things that might be actually pretty good for me. I don't want to hear it. So I started running into some real trouble in my mid-20s, late 20s. Trouble with court, trouble with family, trouble with just doing all kinds of things that are way out of my character. Stuff that I never would have thought I would have done. And it started a cycle of getting arrested, going to county for a little bit, going to treatment, and then getting out and, you know, trying to show them that I'm behaving my best and going to meetings and this and that. And there was one thing missing from that. So I would go, you know, get locked up, I would be just, oh no, I'm never going to do this again. And then I would get the chance to go to treatment, which was great. I needed it. And I would go through all these classes and educational things about why our brain does what it does, why are we using drugs, why do we use this to cope, coping skills, all kinds of rehab classes. And that was fine, that was good. But then I would leave rehab, I would go back home, I would go back to work, I would do whatever. And I would end up right back where I was in the beginning. I would use again, I would drink again, and eventually end up locked up again. And that cycle happened a couple of times. And during those times, I started going to 12-step meetings at with Alcoholics Anonymous. And they told me, they kind of showed me, actually, what was missing in that formula. You know, the jail, the rehab, I'm never going to do this again, and then somehow doing it again. And that was a higher power. That was God.
Yes.
Through that whole thing, I didn't mention God because that wasn't where I was at. I was trying to go to this treatment, I was trying to get out, and I was trying to go back to worldly things. I thought, if I get my car back, if I get my job back, if I get the apartment back, everything's good. That means I'm sober and I'm doing good. And people will look at that and they'll say, hey, he's doing pretty good. And that's all I wanted. And then you would get off my back. And then, you know, a week or two later, go back to doing what I really want to do. And that's run away. Get out of my own head, because life had gotten to a point where it was so just, I was so dissatisfied with my own life and the things that were happening around me and the failed relationships and the hardships of trying to get my family, you know, to see me as the person that they know versus the person I'd become. All this stuff was so overwhelming that all I wanted to do was run. Run and get out of my mind in the only way I knew possible. So that was what I was doing. This most recent time, January 12th, January 11th, I guess, of 23, I was having a particularly bad time. So I have a daughter, she's 3 years old. And at the time, she was 1. And I had said that when she was born, that was it. When she was born, I made that I swore on my life and all this stuff because I was so happy at the time. I'm never using again. I'm never drinking again. And I meant it, and it was beautiful. And she was born, and I thought everything changed then because I just felt overwhelmed. I'd never felt a love like that in my life. So I was like, this is it. This is it. I have to do it for her. And I wish I had, but I didn't. So she was about a year old, you know. Me and her mother and her were living in an apartment. Things were going pretty good. I was still in that cycle though. And being born it was like a big moment, and it made me feel good. And then, I don't know, it really sounds bad to say that wasn't enough, when you can say your own child wasn't enough, but it wasn't enough. I didn't want to do it. It's hard to explain. It's just, this disease that we have, it's very powerful, and there's only one way to put it into submission. And I didn't have God in my life. Well, God was in my life, but I didn't know Him. And I wasn't seeking Him. So anyway, in January of 23, I was in a bad spot because I had been using. My girlfriend found out, and she's like, I don't want you around our daughter when you're like this, when you're doing this. And I was like, I agree, you're right. So I started living out of my car again, just so I can use, instead of, stopping and going back home. Crazy. So it was really a dangerous time, because then I truly had nothing to do. So I was like, well, she kicked me out. I can't see my daughter right now. I don't know how to stop doing this. So I started overdosing all over the city. Anywhere I was parked, there's a good chance that I was overdoing it, and I was in real bad shape. I got arrested in front of the mustard seed, I think, on West Market, because I had overdosed. And finally I had done it while I was driving my car, and I think I must have I don't remember it at all, but I guess I must have went off the road in front of mustard seed and was just parked there, asleep or half dead or whatever. And the cops were knocking on my window, and I knew the drill. I rolled my window down, and they were asking questions. I was like, oh, I fell asleep, sorry. Clearly, I was clearly in bad shape, so that didn't fly. I went to jail again. And for whatever reason, this time when I got locked up and I was in there and I was going through the withdrawals, the detox, it's rough, it's nasty, it stinks. But we gotta go through it. We gotta pay the piper. When I was going through all that, I was thinking about how I used to pray and the prayers I used to do. So when I used to pray, I had no concept really of God. And I would pray for God to please get me out of this situation. And I don't know why, but for the first time when I was in jail, this most recent time, instead of praying, God, get me out of this situation, I prayed and I said, God, show me what to do. I will do anything. And it was a huge moment, because I'm still learning in Christianity. I'm still young in Christianity. These last couple of years, I've been learning a lot. I've been, we used to do these Bible studies on Wednesday night. Loved those because I got to learn so much more than I knew, and really get a relationship with God. And at the time, I didn't yet, though. So when I said that prayer, I felt something, and I kind of chalked it up to not really knowing what it was, because I also wasn't feeling too well at the time, and I thought maybe I might have been just kind of, I don't know, hallucinating a little bit or something. But I had this just overwhelming feeling of peace come over me, because I think I had nothing to lose at that point, and God finally, this is just my experience, I don't know, God finally put on me that, he can't he's not going to pull me out of it. I'm always looking for the easy way out. I want that shortcut. I want you to just take it all away. And in this relationship, I've been growing with God. I'm starting to realize that he does for me what I can't do for myself. So what he's doing, what he did, was not just take it away, because that's too easy for me. If you just do that and you don't put if I didn't have to put any work into it, it wouldn't mean anything.
There you go.
I would be right back in the jails and the rehabs and probably dead, really, because there's only so many times you can do that circuit before things are way beyond out of hand. And I was there. So what he did for me was he showed me and he gave me the strength and courage to do the next step, to do what needs to be done. I don't always follow the directions because, again, I'm stubborn and I want to do my own thing. I always want to take my own will back. But I know it's not right. I know where my will gets me. I know where my thinking gets me. So I'll kind of wrap it up quick, but that was a huge moment. Just that first time that I ever felt like I felt a connection. And that gave me just that little bit of willingness to be like, you know what? When I get out of here, I had to sit for a little bit this time. When I get out of here, wherever they send me, whatever I have to do, I'm going to chase this. I'm going to chase after God. I'm going to find out what this is all about. And I'm going to get this in my life because over that time, I had seen a lot of people in AA and in other programs that were always talking about God and what He had done in their lives. And I had actually seen it. I had seen people, my sponsor, if you don't mind me bringing you up, my sponsor is one of those people. I saw him when I was in Raymar a few years ago now. And he was a little bit messy in Raymar. And I had the privilege of seeing him again a couple years ago when I was in IBH, which is where I got to go after jail. And he was like a totally different person. I mean, he was the same person, but so much had changed. I saw this peace and this kind of just natural joy radiating off of him. He seemed genuinely happy to see me, even though I just screwed up for like the 5th, 6th, whatever time, and came back into these rooms. And I had seen what God did for him. And that's why I asked him to be my sponsor. And I had the fortunate opportunity to not only be, like, as soon as I got done with IBH, not only have a sponsor and be working the 12 steps, but also to come here after IBH and get to greatly enlarge my spiritual understanding. So I was really lucky. Well, I say I'm really lucky, but God set it up that way. So I got to come here and get a better relationship with God, and at the same time I was working the 12 steps because they really helped me. They helped me have a more practical approach towards it. And then I come here and I just got filled with the Spirit. And I got to do that at the same time. I got to grow so much over that time. And make a few mistakes and be grumpy and, all of that. We're human. When I first came here, I don't think I wanted to stay here 6 months. I definitely didn't. But there it is again. That's me. That's my thinking. I think I know, and I've seen how that works out. So I prayed. And I sat here, and I did the work. And I'm probably talking too much now. I didn't think I was going to get anything out, really. And now I'm talking. So thank God. But yeah, being here, I just, I stayed for those 6 months, and there's people that I was in that, as a matter of fact, everyone that I was in the house with, in the end, is still here. We're all still sober. We're all still involved with the church. You guys are a little more involved than I am, but I'm trying to come back more often. And, man, what a great group of guys we had. To the point where when I actually finally did go home, which I wanted to, I had my girlfriend and my daughter, and they're great. And, we have such a great relationship, and that woman stayed by me when didn't deserve it. I definitely don't deserve it. She's such a wonderful person. I get to leave here and go home with them. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But when I first did, what was funny is I had wanted to leave here towards the end. You know, I was getting antsy to be home. I loved it here, but I wanted to just be with my daughter every day. What was funny is the first couple weeks I was home, it was kind of nice, and I started falling into this thing where I was noticeably kind of irritable a lot after a few weeks. And like I kind of noticed it too. You know, it had to be pointed out to me. Skylar, she's not afraid to tell me how she's feeling, I promise you that. So she pointed it out to me, and then I was like, well, no. And then I thought about it, and I was like, man, I am being like just really short fused, just really not acting very grateful to be home. And then I remembered what was missing. I was like, oh yeah, I left Ark and I haven't been to church in like 5 weeks. I haven't been doing so I kind of do a morning routine every morning. I do some reading, I do some praying. I was kind of going through the motions with that. So I guess the moral of that is I can't change what was working for me.
There you go.
And also, I guess just man, praise God, because I just, it's hard to put into words sometimes all the different blessings and growth that I've gotten in the last couple years. And they tell me I haven't seen anything yet. And so it's only going to get better. And I'm like, wow. That's my cue. Anyway, I don't really know how to wrap it up, but just if you were in a situation that sounds similar to where I was, or you were here and maybe kind of getting a little swirly about being here, take the time, sit still, pray about it. I know you probably hear that a lot, and there's a reason for it. I could not have done any of this on my own. My mindset was where it was at. There's no way. I was a mess. Some days I still am a mess, but it's a lot better than it used to be. So, and all the glory goes to God for that. I'm still growing in my understanding of God and my relationship with Him, and sometimes I don't know what direction He's putting me in next, and sometimes I'm frustrated, and I'm like, why are these things happening? You know, a ton of people just got laid off from my job, and things are looking just real not great there right now. And I could find a lot of other things to complain about, but I could find a bunch more to be grateful about too. I have a job. I get to come here and talk to you guys and be in a place that I love and I miss and that I need to come back to more. I get to sponsor people now.
Amen.
Which is, wow. Can't believe, I don't know, just all these blessings. I could never have done. Anyway, thanks for listening to me. And,
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.